All right. Good evening. Welcome to New England Hemophilia Association's Webinar Wednesday. My name is Rich Pizzillo, and I'm NEHA's Executive Director. Early this year, NEHA began a Webinar Wednesday series. The goal of this series is to keep you as informed as possible through a virtual world. Tonight's webinar is super special and important. It is the 21st webinar in our series and the unofficial kickoff to FallFest, and it features our incredible board of directors. Tonight's interactive webinar will give you an opportunity to hear directly from our board of directors and ask them questions. Just a couple of quick notes before I hand the baton to Nancy Messina. This is going to be recorded. So as we all know now, experts in Zoom, you can turn your camera off if you do not want the camera to be on. You are muted right now, but you can unmute yourself during the Q&A or use the chat. The chat is a really great way to ask questions. You won't interrupt anyone, and we'll be monitoring the chat throughout the event itself. You can also adjust your view. We will be spotlighting, so just highlighting certain individuals as they're talking, but you can play with your view using the view feature, depending on what type of device you have. It's in the upper right hand, upper left hand, or down below. Also, tech issues are not uncommon in a virtual world. So if you are frozen and you have an issue, call back in or try. And if we freeze, don't take screenshots of it because it's usually a very unflattering photo of when you freeze on camera. So with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Nancy Messina, NEHA's board president. Nancy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rich. Is this when you want me to share my screen? I will do that, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Let me share this. We're really happy to be here tonight, although I have to say we wish that we were up at J Peak with you right now. That was going to be a great Fall Fest, but I'm sure we'll do it again next year. So I'm going to put this in present mode. Does that look okay, Rich? Great, thank you. So thank you all for spending your Wednesday night with us. And we're excited for this opportunity to introduce ourselves and to answer any questions you might have about how the board of directors, what we've been up to for the last year. But first, we wanted to start off by something that we usually would do at the reception on Friday night of Fall Fest, but we have a inductees we would like to acknowledge for the 2020 Charles Doherty Giving Circle. So we've made a little video to induct everyone. I hope that a lot of the recipients of this are on tonight, but if not, we will show their name here. So Charles Doherty was a beloved community member who passed away in 2018. Charlie had dedicated countless hours and energy to NEHA over the last 30 years. As a board member, he made sure that the finances were in order, the budgets and forecasts were on target, and that the fundraising was focused. Charlie founded the annual NEHA Golf Tournament in 1990. And since its inception, the tournament has raised over $1 million for NEHA's programs and services. Charlie went above and beyond to support the NEHA mission by giving his time, talent, and treasure. In honor of his extraordinary service, NEHA has established the Charles L. Doherty Giving Circle to recognize and thank the exceptional individuals who gave so much back to this community. So to show our sincere gratitude, we had recently started hosting that reception at Fall Fest that I mentioned, but this year we're simply going to be sending you a red tie lapel pin to signify how your support ties our community together. So thank you to everyone who's on this list and who's thinking about donating in the future for your continued support to our vital programs and services. You're making a real difference. So thank you, and not as much fun as being in person and handing out lapel pins, but it's something. So next up, the NEHA Board of Directors meet the board. So we have had some turnover this year, and we have I think 7 members of the board on tonight. So I thought we'd give each of them an opportunity to introduce themselves, tell you their connection to the community, and then we'll move on. So I'll start since I'm already talking. I'm Nancy Messina. I am from Concord, Massachusetts, and came into the community almost 20 years ago when my youngest son of 3 boys was born with severe hemophilia A. And NEHA has been a lifesaver for us. It was, the community was amazing, the education, the resources. We started attending camp where he learned to infuse on his own. And now he's in college and doesn't ask me for anything anymore. And it's pretty great. So I'm feeling like he's a big success story. I'm very grateful, and I'm exceptionally grateful to still have this community, even though he's left me and moved off to college. I still have all of you. So I'm very happy to be here. And now the president. So who knows what things lead to. So, and I believe next up, we were going to introduce Bill Mccartney, who is our vice president and treasurer. Bill, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Nancy. My name's Bill Mccartney. I've been on the NEHA board for about, I think it's 14 years. I'm the longest guy there. I'm the thing that wouldn't leave, if you will, that old Saturday Night Live skit. But I live up in Andover with my wife, Tish. We have 2 kids. My son, Kevin, is 28. My daughter, Kira, is 22. In my job as treasurer, I basically try to help Rich with all the accounting, the budgeting, the financing, all the banking work. We just filed our annual tax return, so that was a little bit of a project. We got that done. And my connection with the community is that my dad had hemophilia, and I have 2 sisters, and they have 3 boys between them, and all 3 of the boys have hemophilia as well. So I don't have it myself, but I'm a long-term member of the community growing up with the hemophilia in my family. And I'm very happy to be part of this organization. It's a terrific group right now with this board and Rich at our helm. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks.
Great. Next up, Kate Bazinski. I believe she's on the call. Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Bazinski, and this is my 2nd year on the board. I am part of this community because my little guy, who's, I don't know if everyone can still see the slides, but my little guy, Colin, who is now 4, has severe hemophilia A. Yep, that's him. And so we are still relatively new to the community, but we've just, we dove right in, and it's been a tremendous source of support and comfort for us. So, thank you.
I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute. Thank you, Kate. Yes, now we have Peg Gary up next. And Peg needs to unmute as well. Hold on.
Thanks very much. I'm Peg Geary, and right now I'm a social worker / project manager for the Boston Hemophilia Center. Oh, isn't that sweet? Located at, our adult side is at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, and our pediatric side is subcontracted out with Boston Children's Hospital. So we're the biggest HTC in New England, but we have such a great network of HTCs. So if you're anywhere in New England and visit any of our HTCs, we all usually know each other, we work together, we network together. And I'm living now in South Grafton, Mass, which is south of Worcester. So it's been a big commute change for me. For 34 years, I worked at UMass Memorial in Worcester, and I was at the Hemophilia Treatment Center there for 24 years, since 1991. I was fortunate enough to just kind of fall in this opportunity, and I am telling you, I haven't left since. I did move once 5 years ago to come to Boston because I had never gone to school or worked in Boston. And I am telling you, if you have not tried it, you should try it. I love Boston. I think it's so exciting. It's so social. It's so academic. It's just a wonderful city. So I have enjoyed my time very much in Boston. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Peg.
Thank
Good to see
you.
your face. Okay, next, well, Margaret Hudlin is not able to join us, but this is a picture of her grandson who has hemophilia and her daughter, Anne Marie, who many community members know, but I'm sorry that she wasn't able to join us. But next up, Alan Hurley, another longstanding member of the board, is here. Alan?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, great. Really happy to be here tonight. I've met many of you at various events over the years. I currently live in Holliston, Mass. With my wife after our two children have departed. I have one that's in West Roxbury and another one that just is moving out of New York City, where she's been for the past 7 years, and she's bought a house on Cape Cod, which surprised us all. And we've been spending a lot of family time out on Cape Cod this summer while I've been working remotely. I do work currently at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, and everything has been remote since April. So it's, as I said earlier to my colleagues here on the board, really long days, a lot of screen time and a lot of Zoom calls that get tiring after a while. But I got introduced to the NEHA community, believe it or not, more than 30 years ago. I was adding that up and I was a little surprised by that number, but I moved to this area from my former job at Aetna Life and Casualty in Hartford and came up to work for the Wyatt Company in Wellesley. And I began working with Bill Mccartney when he was at Watts Regulator. And we've become very good friends, and he introduced me to the organization. I've participated in the golf tournament, probably funding foursomes for, I don't know, goes all the way back to Ballymead and Charlie, dear Charlie, who organized the golf events many, many years ago. So it's been tremendous. I continue to participate in that and a lot of other things. I've been on the board about 12 years. My background is in the healthcare field, medical benefits in particular, and really been in HR consulting for a long time. And that's what I do at College of the Holy Cross as the Associate Director of Benefits there. So I am very happy to be here tonight, and I'm pleased to see you all.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Okay, next up we have a new member of the board, Mike Rudishan. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hope you can hear me.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. My name's Mike. So I am one of the new members. I've only been a member of the board since March. So I've still yet to go to an in-person meeting with the NEHA board. So everything we've done has been virtual since I've joined. So I don't know, maybe I'm bad luck. I'm not sure. But no, I'm really honored to be a part of the board. I've been a member of the community for a really long time. I am a hemophiliac myself, severe factor VIII deficient. I grew up in Maine, so I started going to camp when I was a young child with my parents back when it was in Winthrop, Maine at Mechuana, and continued to go to camp and was a counselor when it moved to New Hampshire as I got a little bit older, and have helped with various events along the way. And it's been, a real honor to be a part of this community, to meet all the people, and now I'm really excited to be a part of the board. Yeah, like I said, I grew up in Maine, moved to Boston in 2007. I currently live in Boston. I work here. I'm a medicinal chemist, so I'm a big science nerd, and really love the medical symposium for that reason. It's been a fun one that NEHA puts on. So really, really happy to be a part of this group, and look forward to learning from everyone as I continue.
Great. Thank you, Mike. We're happy to have you. Hope to meet you in person someday. Actually, we have met, but it's weird. We had 3 new board members come on right at the beginning of COVID. So we've had lots of Zoom time, but not any in-person time. But is John Wells on tonight? I'm not sure. He's also a new member, but John, are you there? Oh, he is there. Hi, John. Can't hear you though. No, we can't hear you. Why don't we, why don't we go on to Janice and we'll try to come back to you at the end. Okay. Because I know Janice is here. Janice, no,
I'm
can't hear you.
here, and
Here.
hopefully you can hear me. Hello, everyone, and thank you. My name is Janice York. I live in Connecticut with my husband, Neil. The first thing I have to say is we've had our 5th grandchild, and she is about 2 hours old. Her name is Maisie Alice, and mom and baby are doing well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's exciting. But also what is exciting is my connection here with the NEHA board. My connection started with the NEHA community on a professional basis. I worked over 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and most of that time was involved with hemophilia A and von Willebrand. So it's a community very dear to my heart. I retired about 3.5 years ago and was always looking for a way to give back to the community. So I am extremely honored to be part of the NEHA board, which I joined in March of this year.
Thank you. We're happy to have you, Janice.
Thank you.
Okay, let's try one more time. Last but not least, John Wells. Is your audio working?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I've switched from phone audio to computer audio, so hopefully this will work. And I have to say I am sick and tired of Zoom meetings and can't wait to see everyone in person whenever we can do that. So tired of the 2-dimensional world. Hi, everyone. I'm John. Like Janice and Mike, I am new to the board and have been on only since March, but I'm excited about what we've done the last 7 months, all virtually. We've done a lot of great things that I'm sure you'll hear about, and I'm excited to be part of that. I am an attorney in Boston, and I help the board with all things legal, anything legal that comes up. My connection to the community, I don't have any family connection to the bleeding disorder community, but it's only through friends. And I've been to walks and participated in events like that and got to know the community that way. And I'm looking forward now that I'm on the board to spending some more time and getting to know more people in the community once we can actually get together again. So glad to be aboard and happy to help do anything that I can to help the mission of the board and the organization.
Thank you, John. We're happy to have you and all the new members. I wanted to also point out that we recently had some members roll off that were members, board members in 2019, 2020. Kim DeAngelis, who was on the board for a very long time, Joel Klein, Bob Wickham, and John Bruno all completed their terms over the last year. So they are not with us tonight, but great to see everybody. And I hope that gives you an introduction to people. And if you have any questions, like what Mike's favorite color is or something, please feel free to type it in the chat. Okay, moving on. So I have some slides to talk about the board. The first is kind of what is the role of the NEHA board? And typically any nonprofit board is to advance the organization's mission. NEHA's mission statement is to improve the quality of life for persons with bleeding disorders and their families through education, support, and advocacy. So the education, support, and advocacy are the 3 important words that you'll hear used a lot. And we really try to stick by that and make all of our programming follow that mission statement. We also are charged, as in all good practice for nonprofit boards, to ensure the ethical governance of the organization, provide leadership, set strategic vision, develop policies which will improve the effectiveness of the organization, provide financial oversight, actively assist in identifying and securing funds needed to achieve our mission, and serving as ambassador for NEHA inside and outside of the community. So how do we do that? What is the structure of NEHA and our committees? There's John Bruno and his family, adorable kids. So what is the structure? So this is a organizational chart that I've done, and I think some of you may have seen it before. It's an attempt to kind of structure NEHA and try to figure out a way where the board and the community members as volunteers can assist the staff with all of our programming and events. So it's a work in progress. It's kind of almost like a goal, you know, it's not fully established. Some of these committees haven't gotten up and running yet, but it's a structure for us to work on and try to continue to frame the organization in the way that will be helpful. I have showed this before, but for instance, over here is, you know, the board of directors, and the goal being for each of these committees, there's 6 committees, each of them to have a chairperson on the committee that sits on the board and that can report back to the board. And I use the development committee as an example because it's one of our committees that's really been going gangbusters. They have monthly meetings, they have lots of projects, and they've just been doing a great job. And Kate Bazinski is our chairperson, our board member that's the chair, and she's been working really closely with Gabby Roth, who is our development manager. I'm sure that you all know her. And they've been working very closely and carefully to work together on things like the walk and golf and our membership drive, et cetera. And so the goal is for all of these committees to kind of provide the structure and the direction that these are, you know, this side is community development, and then the programming side is more educational programming. As you know, we've got a new program director who also started during COVID, Sarah Shinkman, who is just a pistol and a rock star. And we're thinking, I hope you agree, she's doing an amazing job. But that's a lot of work, that programs. We have a lot of programs and lots of ideas for more programs and events. So the goal of this programming services committee that hasn't really gotten up and running yet because COVID came and kind of derailed the in-person volunteer aspect. But the goal of that is to help support Sarah with a volunteer mechanism that will, you know, help to develop and develop volunteers to help with the programs and ideas, so that we look at the year of our events holistically as different programs come through the calendar year. So it's not always kind of reinventing and putting out the fire as we go. So that's a goal. And then there's NEBDAC over here, which is our advocacy committee. You know, it's a New England Bleeding Disorder Advocacy Coalition of all 6 states, including CHS and HAM. And it's a really great example of they're doing an amazing job of collaborating together in the advocacy realm. So it's a diagram, it's a work in progress, but I always like to show it because it reminds me that we need structure. We all need structure. So let's see if I can figure out how to switch the slide. No. Okay. So this was just kind of who the contact people are for the internal board committees, which really just means it's board people that are on the committees. There's an executive committee, a finance committee, and then a governance and nominating committee. But the external board committees are the ones where the community can get involved and serve on the committees. And we're hoping to start the advisory council, the board advisory council. Janice on our board has volunteered to be the chair for that. And the idea is that it's a mechanism to solicit feedback from a broader community, community members that might not be able to come to a lot of events, but have things to say or feedback that they'd like to offer. So we're hoping to start those this next in 2020 and have 2 like Zoom calls a year. At Advocacy Committee, as I mentioned, NEBDAC and Kate with Joe Zamboni working as NEHA's representative, and the Development Committee, I mentioned that, and then Program Services coming soon. So if you feel that you would love to volunteer on one of these and help us kind of put this all into place, please reach out to me or the board contact that's listed on here. So what have we been doing 2019, 2020? Pat rolled off as president in 2019, the beginning of 2019. And since then, we have transitioned 6 new board members and a new president who has no idea what she's doing, but I'm trying. We're all volunteers. So we've been busy trying to get up to speed. We've had 2 board retreats with NHF and really done a lot of work this last couple year and a half. So we've established board member review processes by setting up documents that describe the roles and responsibilities of the board, describing the position and what it entails, and then also an annual assessment process. It's a self-assessment, but I think it's good for a healthy board to constantly, especially if we want to be a working board, which we do, make sure that we're all doing whatever we can to contribute our time, treasure, or talent to NEHA. We also worked on a document that defined the structure, but also the committees and what our goal is for each of those committees, what the ideal scenario is and what they can do, and the responsibilities of the board members, of the committee members. So that's a document that I'm happy to share as well. We updated the conflict of interest policy and the bylaws, which was, they might continue to be tweaked as we go through our strategic planning process, but neither of those had been updated in many years. So we did that. And then we solicited input from the community. There were 3 surveys that we've done to kind of address for the strategic planning process our unmet needs and any priorities that the community might have to expand outreach or expand our programs or whatever it may be. So I'm going to talk in a minute about the community needs assessment survey and some of the results from that. We also did a community volunteer questionnaire, which many of you filled out, letting us know like what you might be interested in and how you'd like to participate in our programs. And then we also did an HTC survey for social workers and providers around New England. That's been really great because it's kind of set up a situation where now Rich is having every other week, he's having calls with the HTC social workers to keep them up to speed on what our programs are doing and let us hear what they've been up to. And it's been a great communication and establishing that partnership with all of our HTC partners. We've also had to dive right into all challenges that are COVID related. That was fun. At the beginning of March, we all of a sudden started realizing that we weren't going to be able to have in-person events, and we were going to have to kind of scramble and rethink what all these virtual events were and how they were going to affect the budget and all the different things. So we had monthly calls as a board, and we had lots of emails back and forth, getting updates with Rich and kind of trying to predict what would happen with everything. And so far, everything has, I think, gone very well as can be expected. So, and then recently, we've also had a lot of interest in establishing and have started to establish a diversity task force. And that's getting going, and we're going to continue with that task force work into 2021. So hold on one second. Okay, there we go. So board priorities for next year, the end of 2020 and 2021. We are going to continue the strategic planning process. We're really getting some momentum with that. And with our goal, we have a schedule to produce a strategic plan that's 3 to 5 years by April. Granted, it's not easy considering COVID and how everything's virtual, but I do feel that our mission as an organization is the same. How we execute the programs and services might be different, but the mission's the same. So I think in a lot of ways, our priorities stay the same. even when especially when we're looking 5 years down the road, because we won't be doing virtual in 5 years. I can promise. Don't hold me to it. No. So we will be using the needs assessment feedback that we got from everyone to inform that process, along with all the other surveys and feedback that we've gotten. So we will oversee COVID challenges. We're going to start to look at the budget for 2021 very soon, and how COVID is going to affect possible sponsorships and programming. And we're just going to have to continue to monitor the situation. We're getting guidance from our industry partners. We're getting guidance from NHF, and we're just trying to stay on top of it. It's, as far as in-person events go, it's challenging because New England is obviously 6 states with very different, COVID gathering rules and everything. And so we're just going to have to play that by ear. I can't predict how that's going to work out, but I'm crossing my fingers that we can all be together very soon, at least by May or June. But maybe we'll start with some small events. We'll see. But we're just having to monitor constantly and cross our fingers. And we'll be, and during that time, advancing the work of the diversity task force, trying to get advice from, work with the providers and partners with the HTCs, and also NHF, who is doing, they're also currently doing what they call Blue Sky Project, which is an issue, looking at diversity issues as well. We will be hosting hopefully 2 advisory council calls, board advisory council, with a goal of 2 calls per year. So if anyone's interested in being on that advisory council, that would be great. Love to have you. And then we'll be cultivating and recruiting new board members. We need to hopefully get a board that reflects the diversity and the needs of our community going forward. We have, I believe, 9 board members right now, 9 or 8. I lost track. But we will always be bringing in new members to, it's as a healthy nonprofit. So board recruitment, we're always looking for engaged people. It's ideal if they have some experience with the governance and management of an organization, and are willing to make NEHA a top priority for their philanthropic causes, supporting our fundraising efforts. They'll be vetted according to the organization's conflict of interest policy, of course, and currently that excludes employees of any entity that manufactures, markets, or sells products or services to the bleeding disorders community. That's part of our bylaws. Candidates can be from within the bleeding disorder community, but it's also good practice for a nonprofit to have members from outside the community to ensure a well-rounded board. And all candidates will be considered, but I think right now we really have some priorities to try to look for people that might have experience in human resources or financial management and accounting. But we also have a long-term commitment to diversify our board geographically and with regard to race, ethnicity, and culture. I feel that with all this Zooming and our ability to increase our technology, that we really should diversify our board, especially to have someone, from all the states that we represent. It's been purely, pretty Massachusetts focused board, but we're hoping to expand that and find people from all 6 New England states. Okay, got to take a deep breath. We'll take questions for all that at the end, but I'm going to move on to share the 2019 needs assessment survey results. This is a very brief synopsis because we got a lot of responses. So thank you all if you filled one out. We really appreciate it. We had 131 people from every demographic took this. We had all of our community. And so this is a brief highlight, but if you would love the full report and want to see all the open responses and all the comments we got, I'm happy to share it. I did compile them all and make a document, and I'm happy to share it if anyone's interested. So let's see, we had about 6 categories in the needs assessment survey. The first was kind of the leadership of NEHA, and the feedback was really great and positive. We had 89% felt welcomed at events, and 59% of the respondents said they attended 4 or more events per year, which is great. 89% felt that NEHA fulfills its mission. And then we also saw lots of comments about communication. So we were happy to hear about that 60% people thought NEHA should not go paperless, which I was actually surprised. That was kind of an interesting stat, but I think people are getting their inboxes so flooded that they enjoy getting a newsletter in the mail. So 96% of the respondents said that they thought NEHA communicated effectively, and most felt that we should continue the paper communications. 87% read and valued the newsletter, and most said they wouldn't change anything about the way NEHA communicates to members. And I need to give a shout out to Brandon Green, who's our NEHA communications manager, who works really closely with Rich. And I feel like that's really helped Rich because they are constantly having social media posts and emails, and it's just a lot. And I feel like they do, I hope you'll agree that they do a lot of communication, and that we really get a lot of, I feel like almost too many emails, but let's not go changing because it's all very useful, good stuff. So new families responded. There were a lot of new families that responded, which was great. And they all said that they would recommend NEHA to a newly diagnosed family, which is terrific. Most were willing to travel up to 50 miles for a new consent. And over 40% of the new families feel that the most important topic for them is managing the psychosocial impacts of a bleeding disorder. So there was a lot of other comments and stuff they had too. So programs and services, we were happy to see that 79% of the respondents had attended a NEHA event in the last 2 years. And they rank the top 5 most important program topics to them, and the order of advocacy, emerging therapies, insurance issues, social, emotional, and mental health. And there were many suggestions for programming, but overall 83% agreed that members make strong community connections at NEHA events, which is what it's all about. Distance was the most common obstacle to attendance, and many requested more local community events. There was a lot on mental health issues, which seems to be a really pertinent subject these days. 42% reported having a lot or some mental health struggles. And here's the chart over here that shows how the responses broke down. And we had a lot of comments about collaboration and partnerships. There were many comments and suggestions about the redundancy of having 3 chapters in New England. We had 79% of the respondents were aware that of NEBDAC and all of its successes, and feel it does an excellent job providing legislative advocacy. That's a tongue twister. 70% have participated in some form of state advocacy, and 24% have attended Washington Days. So that was pretty good stats. 89% strongly agree that industry representatives are clearly identified when they speak and exhibit at our events. And 77% feel that NEHA does an excellent or good job at providing connections at NEHA events to the pharmaceutical industry representatives. So that was good. Okay. So opportunities for improvement. There were so many comments and so many opportunities, and it's all kind of gotten tangled up now in COVID and going virtual, but there were some big takeaways, and we have a lot of ideas to address them. Attendance was a big challenge. A lot of comments about with our large geographic region. I mean, you can drive 8.5 hours from one end of New England to another. And I feel when Rich came on, he has done such a great job at being very deliberate with our programming when it was in person of having, FallFest in Northern New England one year and then Southern New England. And that same year, Consumer Med would be in Southern New England and Northern New England, and being very deliberate about making sure that there's always at least one major event and near people in New England. But it is a challenge with such a large region. But I do think also that with COVID and all of our technology and Zoom, that going forward, when we're going back in person, that we will be a hybrid. We'll have to invest in some technology to make especially some of our bigger keynotes and some of the bigger programs. We'll do our best to make them a hybrid so that people can participate virtually as well. A desire for more local programming where people can connect, because connection is so important in this community. I think that we are going to look, especially local, smaller programming when we're coming out, we're not having the big programs right away from COVID. We need to come up with a model for more community-driven events. Back when Matt was younger, we used to have these women's teas, which were phenomenal. A community member would offer to host a women's tea, and NEHA would provide the structure and the publicity and get people engaged. And you would host a tea, and half the people showed up you didn't know, but you got to meet them, and those were great. And there's lots of those type of events that I think we can set up more of a model for and a formula for that going forward. The confusion over partnerships with CHS and HAM. There were like 60 some comments about that confusion and the desire to reduce the redundancy. And our mission as NEHA is for the 6 states of New England. So we're never going to stop serving all 6 states as NEHA, and we're open to talking to CHS and HAM. And Rich is always in conversation with the executive director of those organizations. And in fact, they share a calendar where they plug in their events and they talk and make sure that they don't conflict. So we will continue to collaborate with them going forward as much as possible. Priority to expand the relationship with the HTC and providers. This was interesting. This was the #1 response as far as an area that people thought we should expand our outreach. And we, since COVID, have also been doing bi-weekly calls with, as I think I mentioned earlier, the HTCs and the social workers, and just to keep the communication lines open with them and let them know kind of what we're up to and what we're offering, and make sure that, we're in our lane and they're, they do what they do well, we do what we do well. And hopefully that communication and that partnership, it, helps them spread the word about NEHA and what we do. And so we're looking to expand that and always keep those relationships and communication open. And then there were lots of comments on the needs assessment about expanding our focus. And there were some specific topics that stood out, like mental health and aging with a bleeding disorder, siblings, and then issues regarding women and girls and bleeding issues with them. So we're keeping all of these programs in mind. And again, the strategic plan is going to focus on a lot of this feedback. And if anybody wants a copy of this needs assessment to read all the comments, feel free, and I'll email it to you. So that is, I think, the end of the needs assessment. And I think what the plan is now is Rich, I'm sure, has been busy with the chat, and we'll try to answer any questions or receive feedback that anybody might have out there. I'm at a disadvantage because I can't really see how many people are even out there, but hopefully some people have some questions. So I'll turn it back to you, Rich.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. And thank you to the board members. Feel free to use the chat. This is, we're a community here. And if you're watching this recording afterwards and say it's 2021, you can always reach out to the board at board@nehemophilia.org. It does not go to staff. It goes directly to Nancy. So it's confidential there. The first question that came in was, how is NEHA doing financially? So I know we're going to do the big, thorough annual meeting on Saturday. And if you have not been to an annual meeting of NEHA, we go through the finances, the audited finances, and we go through our successes specifically to the programs. But Nancy or Bill, I can have you guys weigh in, and then I'm happy to add some things.
Rich, do you want me to stop sharing my screen?
It's up to you. I could spotlight. It's up to you if you want that on.
Yeah, I think I'll just turn it
Okay.
off. That way we can see. And I'm going to immediately turn this over to our amazing treasurer, Bill Mccartney. Where's Bill? Let's see.
I think you're on mute, Bill.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. We've definitely have felt the impact of the COVID virus on our financials this year, where the revenue is down. But Rich has done a very good job of, controlling the costs. And so as a result, our financial results for the year are going to be somewhat favorable. And so from that perspective, we've done well. I'm also involved in some other nonprofits, which is really struggling very, very terribly right now. And in comparison, NEHA is doing quite well. But on the other part of the answer would be there's the financial results, which are going to be okay this year with the reduced revenue. But our financial condition, which is our balance sheet, we're quite strong there. For right now, we have about $1.2 to $1.3 million in our bank account. So we do have the ability to weather this COVID storm. I'm not worried about that. And that'll be part of our strategic plan as we plan out the next 3 to 5 years in terms of, we have flexibility to do something with our programming or to do something with our staffing and so on. So I think with the short answer is we're doing well. I'm not concerned. And we're doing well because Rich and the staff have done a really good job of controlling expenses and raising money with all the fundraisers that we have.
And if I could add, Bill, and please keep posting things in the chat, and we'll again provide a very thorough financial update. 4 years ago, and feel free, Bill, to jump in here, NEHA was in a very different place.
Yes.
A nonprofit, to be healthy, should have between 6 months to a year of their operating budget. And for storms like this, where you don't, no one forecasted what this was going to mean. So I think as community members and as proud supporters of NEHA, this is a healthy sign that, if COVID continues and all funding were to be cut from industry, NEHA could try to navigate this. And I'll just give you a little bit of insight here. This amazing community somehow blew everything out of the water nationally and raised over $280,000 at the walk. Less than 20% was from industry. So that's less than 20% was from pharmaceutical companies and specialty pharmacies. The rest was individuals and local businesses. That is remarkable as staff to think about this incredible community that we have that really drove fundraising through a pandemic. So I think it's just kudos to the culture, to the community members, and to all of you for believing in NEHA and where we're going. I think that that's a really important piece as well.
I agree.
Great. Thank you. Another comment that came in through the chat is emergency assistance. Nancy, do you want me to take that, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, emergency assistance has been the priority. So I'll just explain a little bit of how the emergency assistance program works. Patients can't refer themselves, so they have to be referred by a healthcare provider or a specialty pharmacy. So they have to get it verified. If the healthcare provider refers the patient in, they give so it's on our website, it's for non-medical costs. So rent, mortgage, electric bills, cell phone bills, other non-medical costs. We then have a conversation with the healthcare provider and talk about the patient. Everything's kept confidential. Then it goes to a separate process, and it determines, has the patient receives funding within the past 365 days. And if they haven't, we go back to the budget. Last year total, we gave back just over $10,000 and assisted about 20 families. This year, and we're only in October, we've assisted nearly 40 families, and we're pushing close to $18,000 that we've given back. So this has increased substantially. The board of directors at the last meeting has increased the amount from $500 annually to $1,000. And again, this is based on need. So everyone would love $1,000, but NEHA is not the Oprah of the bleeding disorder community. This has to be based on need from the healthcare provider. If a specialty pharmacy refers the patient in, we always do contact their medical provider as well. And it's about a conversation and understanding what that need is. COVID has impacted patients greatly. They've been laid off. They are having trouble with their co-payments and deductibles, with their electric bill and some other bills too. So this program has really been a lifeline, and we've received a lot of incredible notes that have said that it's helped families take that extra bridge to that next step. So I hope that helped to answer the question there. The next question, Nancy, I'm going to toss this over to you. What was the general tenure of the 60 comments about HAM, CHS, NEHA collaboration? Is consolidation of the chapter something that is being discussed?
Well, we're open to that. The comments were very, there were a lot of comments about, you should merge, you should, work together. And it's not completely obviously in our control. They're entities that have their own board of directors and their own executive directors. And right now, I think NEHA is committed to our community in 6 states. So we want to do whatever's best for the 6 states that our mission is responsible for. So reducing the redundancy is really important. And I think right now, obviously the community is either confused or wants us to work more together. So I think our focus right now is going to be on more collaboration and making sure that the programming, NEHA does a lot of original programming, especially in COVID. And I wanted to point that out, that nationally, we all know Rich is a rock star, but he is really a rock star as far as COVID goes. I mean, all the programming that he and Brandon and Gabby and Jill and who am I forgetting? Oh, Sarah, hello. They have done so much work to be creative and to do original programming. And that's hard for smaller chapters. We don't do a lot of like branded programs and the smaller chapters do that. And nationally, we've really been leading the way as far as all of this original, these boxes and camp and FallFest. Consumer Med is a big one. So I just think, we're focused on doing the best we can for our community and reaching and trying to reduce redundancy, which we're doing with collaboration, but we're open to talking to CHS and HAM and about collaborating more. I mean, but that's really, it's not completely up to us. So.
Yeah, and I could share too. I mean, we are committed. I know Tracy's on here, and Tracy, I know you would agree with this, that NEHA and HAM in particular has a really great working relationship, and also with CHS, because at the end of the day, it's about serving the community, period. Take the acronyms away, and this is about serving the 6 states, however we do that. And we never want to be in competition with each other. We want to make sure that the programs are not overlapping. We know that for our industry partners aren't here, you're stretched. Your budgets are stretched, you're stretched yourself. And I mean, we've heard loud and clear, you're jumping around to all these events time away from your family. So, at the end of the day, What we want to do is work on efficiency, effectiveness, and understand the needs so that we can, one, serve the community, and two, think ahead, because we all know that the future of the bleeding disorder community is going to look different. I mean, we're really lucky that treatment's advancing. Gene therapy is in an arm's reach, maybe not for everyone, but I truly believe that it's going to happen in our lifetime, and that's going to transform things. And we are in here for the cure and beyond, whatever that means, right? NEHA is not going anywhere, because this doesn't magically go away, then community members don't need us. There's a whole world of VWD. There's a whole world of patients being born with hemophilia and carriers and rare bleeding disorders. So for 64 years, this organization's been here, and for 64 more, it will continue. So I think that the mission will always be to serve, to provide advocacy and education to New England, whatever way that we do that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Rich. Any other questions?
Let's see, I'm just going through here. Feel free to private message me as well. I won't read your names if you have additional questions here.
But that said, I mean, it's almost 8 o'clock. Feel free to send emails to the board email as well, or any of the specific board members.
All right, one came in, Nancy.
Oh,
Well, actually a comment.
That you should grow your hair.
All right, let's just listen about this. As I'm
Like
getting
your
older,
hair.
this hairline's going back, so I really can't grow it much more unless I'm going to wear a toupee or shave it. So this is as long I'm going to get here. but there will be a wig on Friday night for the Halloween extravaganza for FallFest. So you'll see nice long hair that I can braid for that. What is the process of applying to the board?
I think that if you're interested in applying for the board, you can send either Rich or that board email address, board@nehemophilia.org, and just say that you're interested, and we'll probably have a conversation. And if you're still interested after we have a conversation, we could send you a packet. We have the document, as I mentioned, that we created with the board roles and responsibilities, the position explanation that describes the position document, and we can continue a conversation. So obviously all are welcome to apply if you're interested.
I think a labor of love. Nancy, I mean, all the board, but Nancy, just so everyone knows, not many board presidents join a weekly staff call. Nancy's been on every week with the staff since March, and really has done, and I mean, sometimes I talk to you, Nancy, more than I talk to my own husband. So I just think that, you know, your dedication stepping in here has been incredible, and the entire board for what they're doing to help.
My whole goal is, if I listen to those staff calls and I don't have to torture you with questions all the time, I'm trying to make less work for you, not more.
Another question, which you don't, never. Another question came in is, do you have to donate a certain amount per year in order to be a board member?
Well, when we were making the board position document, there was a discussion of that. Most nonprofits do have a kind of minimum kind of donation requirement, and we did not choose to do that. We look at the board as ability to offer time, treasure, or talent. So we did not put that in as a specification.
Great. Thank you.
Although fundraising, help with fundraising is important. That's very much part of the position, I should clarify, but not necessarily a dollar amount.
Great. Another question came in. Is there an opportunity at some point to have satellite offices of NEHA?
I mean, that hashtag goals, that's how I think that's a really important concept that I would love to follow through with. Southern New England, Northern New England, try to figure out a way that we could have satellite offices with Even the idea of having an assistant program director in each of those places to help Sarah with the regional components. Definitely part of what we're discussing in our strategic plan. And I think it's a great idea. So it just takes, these things take time, and we're, especially when we got derailed by COVID and what all that means to everything. In some ways, COVID has helped with the idea of the technology and being able to expand our, outreach that way. But in some ways, it's also kind of slowed us down a lot because of, difficulties with, like, what is our budgetary constraint going to be going forward. So we're trying to be cautious and responsible fiscally, but yet dreaming big. So part of the strategic plan might have that component to it.
Great, thank you. And feel free to put, I know we're past date here, but if there's more questions, fire away. And again, the annual meeting, if you haven't been there before, we try extremely to talk about, they will be what Bill said, our audited numbers of 2019. And we talk about down to the dollar of what goes back to support education advocacy, the expenses, the revenue. Try to be as transparent as possible. I think that's really important, and this board does a great job. In order to be a board, a nonprofit, you have to be transparent. You have to showcase some of these things, and I'm proud to work with all of this board here. So another question is, can you explain a little bit more about NEBDAC?
Yeah, maybe Kate could chime in on this one. Kate's more involved with NEBDAC than I am, and she would be the chair on the Advocacy Committee. Are you there, Kate?
I am, yes, happy to take it. So the NEBDAC actually came out of the community's desire to coordinate more across CHS and HAM. And advocacy was one of the areas where it was felt that it was really important for us to all work together to achieve our common advocacy goals. So NEBDAC, the New England Bleeding Disorder Advocacy Coalition, was created to do just that. So every state has 2 state leads. The executive directors of all 3 organizations, NEHA, CHS, and HAM, work with NEBDAC. Joe Zamboni is our fearless leader. He's our staff advocacy coordinator, director. I'm not sure his official title, but he's the advocacy guru. And so every state has 2 volunteer state leads. And we meet monthly, have monthly calls to talk about priority areas amongst all the states. And we've done, NEBDAC has done a really tremendous job of both stopping bad things from happening, but also doing some really great proactive achievements. So we've established a Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, either by proclamation or resolution in every single New England state this past year, as well as getting community members and testifying in front of legislative committees. We, pre-COVID, had some really active state lobby days in all the states. I believe all of them, yes, all the states had state lobby days. And we are continuing to talk about what advocacy is going to look like in the virtual world next year. So continuing to push forward our advocacy priorities, even in this, even in an era where we cannot bang down legislators, legislator like Joe McKenna, Representative McKenna, I believe, is on the call as well. People, yep, there he is. Yes, he's one of the members who we rely on, and thank you for being here. So, and oh yes, and the other thing I should not neglect to mention, if you are interested in NEBDAC for advocacy, we are looking for people to be involved, both as ambassadors. So these are the foot soldiers of the advocacy coalition. They're the people who, when there is a priority, when we need action, they're the people we turn to make the calls to their legislatures, and to write letters and to actually do the action. In addition to, there are a couple of states that still need state leads. So if you are interested in being a leader on advocacy for your state, please let me know.
Thanks, Kate.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Another question, Nancy. When does NEHA think that they're gonna start in-person events? And
crystal.
there's obviously no crystal ball here, but NHF made the announcement recently that July 1st will be right now their in-person event. Many of our industry partners have said Q1 and Q2. What are thoughts about in-person events for next year?
Boy, I wish I could tell you. I would so love to tell you that we're gonna all be together at the holiday party, or even, you know, something in January. But I don't know. I'll be honest. I mean, we're gonna do whatever we can. Obviously, we're all chomping at the bit to be together and to see you. And if you know, we can see each other. It's very hard. This is such a stressful thing. People are really getting Zoom fatigue. And I just think that we just have to be smart about it. I mean, you know, we're in the healthcare kind of realm, so we need to listen to, you know, to what the doctors and scientists and everyone are saying. But, you know, the other, as I mentioned, we do have the challenge of being 6 states. And I guess my fear is there have been some people who've come up with ideas for doing different events, like an apple picking or whatever. I worry that we're going to be drawing, we all love each other so much. We all want to be together, and we're all going to show up at the corn maze. And I don't want to be responsible for, I mean, I want to do it responsibly, I guess. When we are allowed to gather, we have to be thoughtful about it and responsible about it. So believe me, as soon as possible, I guess, is the question, is the answer. And we'll just have to be thoughtful and monitor it. And in the meantime, do the best we can with the virtual creative things that Rich and we, you know, and Sarah have come up with. And, you know, we might, like, typically on our schedule, we don't do a lot and I don't want to get into the programming because Rich will kill me afterwards, but we don't do a lot in January and February because of snow, and getting places is trickier and unpredictable. But maybe this year there'll be a few more virtual programming events in January and February, but hopefully in the spring we can start, maybe we start small and do some smaller things. And you know, I don't know when we'll be able to have 2,000 people to our walk. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I'm crossing my fingers.
And I think, you know, just to echo what Nancy said, I mean, look at the mess New England's in right now. I'm not even sure Rhode Islanders are allowed to go to Maine. I mean, Rhode Island couldn't even go to Massachusetts and Connecticut. And, you know, like, we grocery shop in Massachusetts. So it's really and work there. So I think it is really challenging. No one wants to be a super spreader. I mean, Biogen still is making headlines, right? And I think, you know, a wedding in Maine, you know, small wedding there. So I think it is tricky, but we want to do the right thing. And many of our industry partners have followed suit with that, and said that, you know, no in-person events. But that doesn't mean we can't connect. I mean, I know it's not the same, but it does feel like we can connect over a computer. It sounds crazy to think that we're doing this over a computer, because last year at FallFest, I don't think anyone would have thought that this was possible here, but.
Yeah. Great. Well, if there are no more questions, we've gone over the hour. Unless you see some other questions, Rich, I want to thank everybody for listening, and hopefully. Oh, you have something?
Can I just jump in for one sec?
Please, Kate.
I would be negligent as development committee chair if I did not plug our silent auction. So if you don't know, we obviously are not able to gather for the red tie soiree this year. So in lieu of the actual event, we are doing a virtual silent auction. And you will find the information about it in your FallFest box. And Rich, I don't know if you have the link. If you can throw that up in the chat, that would be amazing.
Yes, it's going in.
But there's some really great stuff there, and we're adding more stuff every day. So so keep checking back, and we'd love to have your support.
Great. Great. Anyone else have any comments, questions?
Yeah, I just want to plug too, if you haven't registered for FallFest, there's still time. We have an incredible lineup on Friday night of, and it's kid friendly, super kid friendly. There's a costume party, so wear your costumes on Friday night, followed by an inspirational talk from Gut Monkey with Pat Torrey. Then if you were on our walk, the same company that provided the walk-in walk information, they're Circus Olay and clowns. I'm not calling them clowns, they're actual clowns. This is what they do for a living, but they've been laid off, so they need work. So they're going to be helping to do a pumpkin carving extravaganza. It's not all pumpkin carving. Those got a scavenger hunt. There's some fun. Our award presentations will be there. And then Saturday and Sunday, we intentionally went through based on feedback, and it's only from 9 to about 11 and then 9 to 11:30. And there'll be breakout rooms, there's rap sessions. There are the annual meeting, there's the NEBDAC stakeholder meeting. So you'll break out via your state. So you'll get to talk to your state leads then. And then of course, many other items there. So, and hopefully you got your boxes. We've seen some really good pictures of people with boxes, and we appreciate you letting us know that you appreciate them, because they're a work of labor. There's no company doing this. This is a lot of volunteers packaging these boxes and sending their love to those that get them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you Friday night and this weekend. Thanks to the board for joining us and introducing yourselves. And please feel free to email us at board@nehemophilia.org. Okay,
Thank you.
bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Much.